I had the opportunity to give this presentation at the parent conference on the 24th at Eastside High School, and we had a wonderful time with our parents. And to be honest with you, I can't even take credit for the presentation because it's really not mine. Some years ago, and so many years ago now, I don't even remember who gave it, but we did a session like this at my church. And because we were doing the same thing in terms of engaging parents, working with the kids at their schools. So whenever I saw Mr. McDowell's 4 points, is that what you call it? It was the 4 points of... Four parenting steps, that one. When I read that one, it brought back this presentation to mind, and I emailed it to him and said, man, I already have a presentation, something that lines right up with this. So when he asked me to do it on the 24th, I said, all right, I already have it in place. And like I said, it's plagiarized from my perspective in terms of I didn't create it, but I sat in a session just like the one you're in now to train the trainer. So I was trained on it just like I'm training you on it. And everything that's in here is common sense. There's nothing new. There's nothing in this presentation that's going to give you like this big whiz bang of aha, something new. Then again, it might, because a lot of times when you sit into a common sense session, it helps you see things in a different way. All right, and that's what we're going to do this morning, is talk about some things, and I need to understand where I need to be for the camera and all of that, and everybody to see everything, if you can follow, because I tend to move a lot, so if the camera can go with me. Last night at Parent Night at School 10, we have 590 students. We had 370-some parents. We had a large turnout last night for Parent Night, and I was thrilled. It was very good, because we did the tallies this morning, and because I left an Ed Connect or Connect Ed message to the parents letting them know they had to come get those report cards. I was not going to release them to students. And at the end of the message I put in there, do not send your child to school tomorrow or over the next few days asking for their report card, because I'm not going to give it to them unless you've made an appointment and you now come out and get it. So I think that had a little bit to do with all of them coming out too, because now they knew they wanted to get a report card unless they had to come get it. But I was thrilled with the fact that we had over 350, close to 380 parents out of 580 kids. That's pretty good. That means only about 200 students didn't have parents there, which, you know, in the grand scheme of things, if we can continue to work that. Your role is critical. And I didn't realize Shonda was supposed to be here, otherwise she could have jumped in the truck with me. All right? But in any event, if she doesn't get here, because I'm serious about that, call Miss Cooper, tell her to get over here. And if she doesn't get here, then I'll pass this along to her. But the title of the presentation, and that's why you received the pink sheet late, because I just put the title page together this morning, and that is Helping Parents Help Us. Because there's a key component to this whole school thing. And the home piece is a major piece. Major. Because a lot of times we blame the teachers, blame administration, we blame the superintendent, we blame everything. When Mr. McDowell was on the school board, we were working together during that time frame, and I would go to the school board meetings, and he was president at the time. He'd sit there, and I would hear a parent come up, and they would get on the microphone they would take the time plus the additional, because they'd asked for it, and they would lambast the whole time about their child can't read and this, that, and the other. So at the end of the tirade, Mr. McDowell would say, Miss such and such or Mr. such and such, are you doing anything? Are you reading with your child at home? And they would look at him and say, oh, no, that's your job. And at that point, I would tell Kemper when I would say, I said, you're good, man, because there was no way in the world I could sit there and hear that and then be able to ask that question, and then they say, oh, no, that's your job. Because at that point, if it was me, thank God it wasn't me, because I'd have just said, end of discussion, next. And I'm saying that because what that parent was saying was, I'm not going to do anything at home, and I want you to do it all. And what I'm saying to you this morning is, we have to help our parents help us. We have to help our parents work with their children, because the schools, in all honesty, is not a babysitting service. And I think many of our parents really do think that our schools are set up to babysit their children. And we have to move them from that mindset, because it is a mindset. And that's what's going on over at School 10. Our parents really are becoming actively involved, whether it's Shonda or whether it's us or whether whoever it is. They are becoming actively engaged. Because last night we had a meeting at report card night that began at 5:30 promptly. Talked to them for about a half hour or so, letting them know what was going on around the school, and even gave them a parent survey. Matter of fact, I need to send a copy of the survey to Mr. McDowell. Dr. Fulmore has it, but it was a derivation of a survey that Eastside High School had done at Eastside. And I just doctored it up, changed Eastside to School 10. We handed it out last night. It'll be coming back over the next few days, kind of to get a feel like Ed Koch used to do in New York. How are we doing? That's why the survey was given out, to kind of let us know. We had a couple that's already been returned. The feedback so far is looking pretty good. But I will make sure I get a copy of that to Mr. McDowell so he'll have a copy. I'm saying all that to say, as I lead into the presentation, your role to help us is to help us change the mindset of the parents. When I taught at school number 6 would open at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we didn't close until 10 o'clock that night. And believe it or not, we had students that would be dropped off at 6, didn't go home until 10, and nobody even checked to see if they were still there. That would blow my mind. I dropped a kid off at 6 in the morning for the breakfast program. They stayed for the regular school day. Then they went to the after-school program, and then they went to night gym. And no time during that 12, 13, 14 hours did any parent or anybody come even to check to see, is my child okay? And then whenever I would ask them, well, because one time again, I draw on my experiences. When I was teaching at school 6, I said, okay, children, I want you to take home your homework, and I want your parents to sign it. Just letting me know that they saw the homework. I actually had parents come in and argue why they were not going to sign the homework. I was teaching 8th grade at the time, and they would come in and say, that's kindergartenish. Now, mind you, my daughters had gone to private school. They went over to LaGuardia Academy, or what it was known as Community at the time. My ex-wife and I at the time, we had to sign their homework every night from K through 8. From kindergarten through 8th grade, we signed every piece of homework that our children had. So when I got into the public school, and now I have a parent arguing with me that I'm not going to sign that because that's kindergartenish. And then the other thing was, well, I'm in school myself. And I said, well, ma'am, didn't that the fact that you just said you were in school, didn't that defeat the whole purpose of what we're trying to do? If you were modeling for your child, I would think this would be a no-brainer for you. Then I had parents that would tell me, I don't see my child. I said, at no point between the night and the morning, or the morning and the night, you don't see your child at all, at least to give 2 minutes to sign the homework? I'm saying all that, I'm sharing these stories to say, parents come up with a lot of excuses. Now, don't get me wrong. I am more than aware of a lot of our parents' plight. Single moms, working 2 and 3 jobs, single dads. Some children are raising themselves. Nobody is at home. We totally understand that. One of the discussions I had with my team yesterday was, regardless of all that, from the teaching perspective, we're doing a disservice to our children by pitying them instead of pushing them. All right? That came up yesterday. The disservice is in the pitying, not the pushing. And one of the things that I'm working with the teaching staff on is these children need to be pushed, not pitied. Pushed that they can do. I taught a language arts class yesterday, and the same children that I had teachers telling me what they couldn't do when I got in that class, talking to them just like I'm talking to you right now, couldn't stop raising their hands. They don't need to be pitied, they need to be pushed. The same thing goes with the parents. We need to get in there and help them to push their children. And that's what this presentation is about today. So the disservice is not in the pushing, the disservice is in the pitying. Okay, and so what we need to understand and help our parents understand, and as you go through, feel free to take it, because like I said, I don't know who to give the credit to for the presentation yet. When I find out, I'll let Mr. McDowell know. We can give it to him. But for right now, because it's somewhere, I guess, in that tiny print down there. Somewhere. Uh-oh. What did I click here? Did I turn the pop? There we go. Somewhere in that little tiny print down there is the person that created this presentation. I don't know who it is. So at this point, I won't take the credit for it, but just know it wasn't mine, but I can deliver it. All right? One of the things you want to help the parents understand is how their habits impact what their children do. All right? You really need to help them when you're having your sessions and talking to them, is to help them understand their habits impact what their children do at home, in the street, as well as at school. Now, as you heard Mr. McDowell say, I teach at the college level. And I teach public speaking down there. And there's a section in public speaking about body language, and about how people watch what you do versus listen to what you say. Now, in a couple of seconds, I'm going to prove to you how habits or how people watching you takes more of an effect than what you say to them. Matter of fact, we're going to do that in a minute. Matter of fact, give you a good chance to stretch. Everybody stand up and give yourself some arm room. Everybody give yourself some arm room. And everybody needs to be able to keep their eyes on me. I want you to really kind of just, to make sure you don't hit each other in the face. Now, I don't want any bruises. No workman's comp. All right? Oh, that's the pointer? So I don't need this one? Okay. Okay. I need everybody to keep their eyes on me and get your arms out. I really want you to work this up. Okay, everybody's looking at me? Everybody's looking at me. Everybody can see me? Everybody can see me? Okay, I want you to take your hand to your cheek. Stay right where you are. What did I say? Where's my hand? Where's your hand? Yours is cheek. A lot of people start doing this. But that proves my point. Thank you. Take a seat. And don't worry, PhDs have been fooled by that because that's the nature of our body. All right? We will follow what we see versus what we hear. Now, I said go to your cheek, and my hand went to my chin, and your hand went to your chin also. All right? Like I said, don't feel bad. I've had PhDs, I've had executives, principals. I had Dr. Leslie Agard in my parent session. He went to his cheek. So don't feel bad. From the lowest to the highest, because that's the way we are wired. We will take what someone does and follow that opposed to what someone says. So, help your parents understand. You said, help your parents understand their habits. What are we doing? What are you telling me? No, I'm trying to do my little red dot. I'm going to go back to mine. Right there. That's what I'm confused anyway. The habits, just like that tiny exercise that we just did, the same thing the kids are doing. One of the big things we have at School 10 is that for males, there will be no hats worn in the building. Now, last night for parent night, of course, I had my father figures or brick brothers or whoever they were coming in, hats turned any old kind of way, all over the place, head rags, the whole night. So when they came into the auditorium, I said, gentlemen, let me help you understand something. In school number 10, we do not wear hats in the building. We're working with our children on character. We're working with them on manners. So I need you to help me out. I need you to take your hat off because you need to model for your children. And if you don't take your hat off when I ask you, guess what? They're not going to take their hats off tomorrow whenever I ask them. They listened. They took it off. They might have grumbled a little bit, but they took it off. And I knew it was working because when I walked down the hall, one of my students that sometimes gives me one of the biggest challenges, he was with his brothers or fathers or somebody, and when I popped out into the hallway and they saw me coming, oh, we got to take off our hats. And the student told his father, hey, Mr. Medley's coming, take off your hat. That's where we need to get to. That's where we got to. So in terms of the habits, words, every word has power. The lesson that I told you I did yesterday with the language arts class was on tone, because they had written a letter to me about why the dinner dance should not have been called off. And their tone was quite street. And when I approached the teacher about it, they couldn't see it. Ms. Gaines, I want to talk to you about that a little bit later in terms of PD, because something came up there when that happened. They couldn't see it. So I came behind them and taught the lesson myself in terms of tone to help them understand that every word has power. And sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Again, one of my experiences at School 6. I was a teacher at the time. The principal was sitting back in his office. The two secretaries were sitting in their pockets in there. I happened to be walking down the hall, and his parent had a kindergarten. The child couldn't have been no more than kindergarten age. And apparently she'd been coming to the school multiple times for the kid. So now, as I said, the two secretaries are sitting there. I'm walking by. Another teacher's walking by. The principal's sitting back in the office. All of a sudden I hear, I'm tired of coming to this MF in school for your little... Blessed this little boy out. Called him everything but a child of God. All right? Blessed him out. And then, because what came to me was, first off, this was an adult. She had to see me coming down the hall as another adult, had to see that other teacher coming out, had to know those two secretaries were sitting there, and had to know the principal was sitting back there in that office. It didn't matter. And then she was wondering why she had to keep coming to the school. Because my guess is, if she talked to that child like that in public, in a school building, she's talking to that child like that at home. And I would almost bet she probably had to come to school because he was probably cursing somebody out. And if he wasn't, he would be. Every word has power. That works the flip side too. If you are constantly affirming, if you're constantly telling, and the parents need to be telling their children at night, I love you. They need to be giving it, you did a good job today. You know what, I'm glad you're here, whatever. They ought to be doing that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Boys, girls, that doesn't matter, all right? Yesterday, Mr. Kozart, the principal of School 8, did something that just blew my mind, and it was a very simple thing. One of my students had transferred from School 10 to School 8. I didn't even realize the child was gone. So he calls me up and he says, "Mark, this is David." I said, "Hey, what's going on, man?" He said, "I'm calling you because I have one of your students here." I said, "What do you mean you have one of my students there?" He said, "He's transferred here." And now, automatically, now my mind is like, "Oh, Lord, what has he done? What is he doing? Is it a bad kid? Is he giving you trouble? What's going on?" That's what's going through my mind. So he says, "I just wanted you to talk to him because he's doing so well over here. And I wanted you, as his former principal at School 10, to congratulate him for how well he's doing over here in his new school, School 8. So I get the kid on the phone. He says, "Hello?" I says, "Hello, Michael?" I said, "Do you know who you're talking to?" He says, "Yes, Mr. Medley." And I said, "That's right, you're talking to Mr. Medley." I said, "Do you know why you're talking about?" I said, "I'm hearing some really good words about you from your current principal, Mr. Kozart." And he says, "Yes, I hear." I said, "I hear you're doing a really good job." He says, "Yes," because he's a fourth grader. He says, "Yes." And I said, "So that means you representing School 10. And he says, "Yes." I said, "You representing?" And he says, "Yes." And I said, "I just wanted you to let you know you're doing a really good job. I'm proud of you. Continue to do what you do." And then I get David back on the phone. I get Mr. Kozart back on the phone. I said, "Man, that was powerful." I said, "Do you realize for a fourth grader to be able to think that I had two principals on the phone talking about me? I had Principal A and Principal B, and they put me on the phone to tell me I was doing a good job." I'll bet you that kid will never forget that. I'll bet you. Same thing goes at home. If the parents, I know he went home telling his mother and father. I know he had to tell somebody. Guess what? Today, Mr. Kozart called Mr. Medley, and they both told me I did a good job. If the parent was wise, they would have fed right into it and said, "Baby, keep doing it." As opposed to blowing them off and going, "That don't mean nothing." Temperament. And I know it is a tough job being a parent. I have two daughters. My oldest is a junior at Dell State, and my youngest is a sophomore at Passaic County Passaic County Tech. And we have to make sure the parents can keep their temperaments in check. I gave you the example of the woman cursing the child out in the school building. It's a tough job. I was reading a book yesterday that says once you have a job, you might as well look at that as 25 to life. That at the point that child is born, you might as well look at that. And it wasn't from the sense of being a jail sentence, just understanding that the next 25 years of your life is theirs. And a lot of our parents in the schools there, that's not what goes through their mind when they have these kids. All right? You need to help them understand that. That child didn't ask to be here. No, none of us asked to be here. So if you did not want to have children, you should have thought about that prior to the act. And now that you do have them and you have them here, you need to do everything you can to support them. And you cannot be losing your cool every time the child doesn't do what you want them to do. So help them work on temperament. Seizing a teachable moment. Everything that we do in life is about being able to use it as something to teach from. I gave you the example about the class that I taught yesterday in the language arts class. One of the teachers, the reason I went in there was one of my teachers came at me and said, "I think you missed a teachable moment to go in and tell the students about tone, because when we had to take their letters off the bulletin board, you made them feel bad. They felt bad, like they had done something wrong because you made them take their work down off the bulletin board. So you should have used that as a teachable moment." So I told the teacher, "You know what, I agree with you." I made sure I found that class, and I went up there, and that's why we had the lesson on tone. So by the time I got finished with them, they understood they hadn't done anything wrong. It's just that it was incorrect, and we needed to correct it. Anything can be a teachable moment. The child does something good, bad, or indifferent at home. It should be used for help your parents understand that they are a teacher too. Matter of fact, they're the child's first teacher. Help the parents to understand they are the child's first teacher, not that teacher in the school. They go back to what we did up here with the exercise. They're emulating in school what they see at home. So they are the child's first teacher. How do I move this ahead, like this? All right, there you go. See, we got it, Joanne. Parental role and responsibility in our children's education. Believe it or not, and I know Mr. McDowell has been saying this, the parents, if they wanted to, they could create a form and send it to school and say, "You know what, do me a favor and fill this out for me and let me know how my child is doing." They don't have to wait for us to do a progress report. or a report card or send a note. If they wanted to, they can create a form to say, you know what, I really want to know how my child is doing on a weekly basis. I've already typed a form for you. I've written one for you. Or would you, if I didn't type one, would you send me a note at the end of every week letting me know? Because I had last night, a parent came up to me, child had failed science, has a substitute in the room. And she was complaining, substitute, and she'd be able to give an F. And I said, well, you know what, let me help you understand something. Had it been a different sub every day, I might agree with you. But because it's been a permanent sub in the room, same sub every day, and I know that sub is teaching because the science department chairperson came over and worked with her, and because the vice principal stays on her, because she has lesson plans, because I see the work that's on that board every day, something didn't go wrong with your child. Something didn't go here with the child. The child wasn't doing the work. All right? So I asked the child, because they're standing up in my office last night, did you let the teacher know you didn't understand it? Well, no, I'm kind of shy. Like, no, you got to let the teacher know that you didn't understand. Did the teacher give you work? Yes. Did you all take tests? Yes. What'd you get on your test? D's and F's. Did you get a progress report? Yes. What'd you get on your progress report? D's. So I told Mom, you should have been in here when you got that progress report that said D, asking what's going on. Not wait till the report card comes out and it's an F. So help your parents understand. They can come in and request, what are my children doing? How is my children doing? Be physically affectionate. I am 47 years old. My mother is 71 years old, and she still feels the need to give me a hug when I go out the door. Still feels the need, because she lives in Georgia and she's up visiting now. Still feels the need at the end of every conversation to say, love you much. There are times, Mom, look, I'm 47, not 4. All right? But be physically affectionate. Prior to becoming principal at 10, I was vice principal there, and in these first couple of years, we would get into more fights than a little bit. I just could not figure out, why do these kids hit so much? Then I was reading this book called The Psychology of Intimate Behavior. And the intimate behavior didn't necessarily relate to sex. It was talking about, as human beings, that we all need touch. And the psychologist even went on to say that it didn't matter if it was good touch or bad touch. That in the absence of any touch at all, even hitting would serve as, and it clicked, right? It clicked in my mind at that point. That's why these kids hit so much. They're not getting the hugs at home. So in the absence of no touching, in the absence of touching, even the constant was better than no touch at all. So we have to encourage our parents to get physical with their kids. Hug them, shake their hand. It's amazing to me how when I walk through the hallways, because now there's just totally a different culture and mindset at school, to even with the kids. Their manners are there. When they see me coming, hi, Mr. Medley, good morning, Mr. Medley. They want to give me a high five. They want to be touched. They'll come and shake my hand. They're high fiving and they're showing me their little stuff, and I'm touching them back. Not in an inappropriate way, but I'm high fiving them back. They love it. I see the expression on their faces. All right, so be physically affectionate. Help your parents understand how to make their kids critical thinkers. That is a major, major, major. That means moving the kids beyond one-word answers. Challenge them to talk to you and have discussions. I'm even working on our staff members to do that over at School 10. Challenge these kids to talk to you. And again, as a parent, I know because my daughters do that to me. How was your day? Good. How was school? Fine. How are you feeling? Good. Okay. Talk. Get into a discussion.